everybody. It's so good to make a second video. I thought after all the feedback I got back from my first video, it really touched my heart. How many people reached out and were willing to take the time to watch my video and listen to my story, and were willing to accept the message that I was offering to everybody who was willing to listen. Once again, the audacity that I have to cover my background with my bathrobe, just don't ask. Yeah. Anyways, today, I want to focus this video on, kind of anyone who needs a pick-me-up for today. I know we all, some days we wake up and we're just like, how am I gonna get through today? Because I know I wake up like that sometimes. Sometimes just like, you know what? Let's conquer this day. Let's get it moving. And other days I just really need some words of encouragement and hope and peace. So this video is also going to be kind of sporadic. I feel like that's working best for me right now, just because I find that my best ideas sometimes just come spontaneously. And if you know me, you know I'm really spontaneous. I don't plan very often, but when I do, it matters. So, and I also just want to thank all of my friends who really continue to be there for me when I was going through such a hard time. It's not easy being around someone who's really depressed, and to listen to them, it really takes a big heart and someone who's willing to listen and look into your eyes and just be able to see your worth and just really see just how much you're capable of. And it's always so important for us to recognize that we do have worth, and our life is so worth the investment that we put in it, and the investment we put in ourselves and the people around us, especially specifically with people that are close to us and who have reciprocated our same wants and needs in a friendship and in a romantic relationship, whether it's family or coworkers, bosses, things like that. I really want to focus this video on that today, because I feel like I spent a long time in my life, I would participate in friendships or romantic relationships or family members that I wasn't getting that same energy reciprocated, and I feel like it can almost become exhausting and kind of toxic if they're not providing the same thing for you. So one of the things that I think I was listening to a podcast. It was just a day where I was just like, you know what, I need some more hope today. I need some more strength. And I was listening to this podcast, and I kind of came to conclusion with my own ideas from this podcast. And it basically said what I got from it. So let's say our life is our party. You give out the invitations to your party. Am I wrong? And you decide who is invited to your party, who is worthwhile in inviting to your party. And mind my language, but let's say this person you invite to this party, they just crap all over your party. They make everything a mess. They disrespect everyone there, including you who invited them to this party. Think about, would you want them to come back to your party? Would you send them another invitation? Would you give them a second chance? I do believe in second chances, but one, it depends on the thing that they did, and two, it can be hard to tell sometimes. And I know we all want to be nice. I always want to be nice and be like, oh my God, it was okay. It's all good. You can come back. But slowly I realized that actually, no, you are not going to be invited to my party next time because you were disrespectful. And that, it speaks volumes, actually. And another thing I'd like to mention is that I think a lot of us, we really want to be that nice person that reaches out all the time. We want to be there for everybody. If you have a person like I do, that's what you really want to do. Like, that's my initial reaction most of the time. But then I'm like, does this person reciprocate the same care that I do for them. And sometimes, depending on personality, maybe they're really not capable of doing that for you. But take into account the way it makes you feel. If you're a highly sensitive person like I am, I don't get a lot out of friendships or romantic relationships or even family relationships that don't reciprocate the same energy as I do. I find it draining. I find it draining now. Before, I was just like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. But this is your life, and your life is what you make of it. And you are in complete control of your life. And one of the books that helped me realize just how much power I possess in my life was You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. I read this a few times now, and I find myself going back to it and rereading it because, one, I will forget some of the very important points that I once highlighted or stuck a post-it note. And she really goes into depth about just how much power you hold in your everyday life and how much power you hold in the people you keep in your life. And if you decide to make a change, if you decide that you want to live a different way than the people around you, who's coming with you on that journey? It's you who makes that decision. And for the longest time, I tried to really accommodate people like, oh, they're not in the same path as I am, but I'll still let them in, even though they're kind of disrupting my path where I want to be in life. And it takes great courage. It takes great strength to be like, you know what, this situationship, friendship, or whatever it is not serving me any purpose anymore. And this is what I mean when I said in my last video, putting myself first. By that, I mean, I was always really good about treating myself. I'm very good about that. I like treating myself. I like taking good care of myself. I find that makes me the happiest. But one thing I wasn't good at was removing myself from toxic romantic relationships or toxic friendships, toxic family members. And another thing, just because you're blood related to people, it doesn't mean you have to have strings attached. If you are being disrespected, if you're being abused, if you're being humiliated, that is never okay. And I strongly encourage you to never normalize that. That is not okay in any situation. The minute you feel disrespected is the minute you put your self-value below what it is supposed to be. And that's one of the things that I wrote down in one of my journals. Before the new year, I kind of made a list, and I was just like, I'm not going to invest time in X, Y, and Z because I'm finding that it seems draining. And I wrote down, I'm trying to look through my journals, so spare me some time. I'm not sure how to edit these YouTube videos, so I'm trying my best. But let's see. So, okay, yes. Here are some points that I wrote down in my journal that I found made a huge impact in my life. And I was no longer feeling like I kept feeding these friendships, these relationships, these family members. And I found myself feeling fuller. And I tried to invest more time in the people who invested in me. And this is where I'm going to say some pointers that really helped me. So 1, disconnect from relationships that don't serve you anymore. Set your price and know your value. The minute you let someone disrespect you is the minute your self-worth, your self-value goes down. And my question to you all is, do you really want to do that? I've done that multiple times in my life, more than I can count. And it's never made me feel good. It never has. And if people want to make fun of you for being more assertive, more just because you know your worth and you will not tolerate pretty much any bull crap, people are going to make fun of that, but it's also, they will respect you more. It'll make them angry, but because they're like, oh, I don't want to change the way I treat you. I just want to kind of treat you how I'm treating you, and you just keep responding to me. No, that's not a healthy relationship. That is toxic. And then, so yeah, the next point is be assertive And don't overuse the term sorry. I found myself countless occasions in my life saying sorry for every little thing. Oh my God, sorry I stepped in your direction. Oh my God, sorry I bumped into you. Oh my God, sorry I'm late. Sorry this, sorry that. Stop being so sorry. It really just, and sorry, even as apologizing, I get saying sorry. I mean, it's kind of the norm, but if you're that sorry, how about you change your behavior? How about you change the way you treat somebody? How about the way you treat yourself? Oftentimes when people mistreat others, it's because they're also mistreating themselves. And they may not realize that, but that is a fact that I find to be true in my life. And another one, not everyone has to like me. Again, if you're someone like me, I'm a very big people pleaser. And those of you who know me know that is a fact. I want to make sure that I'm nice to everybody, that everyone gets their needs met in the friendships and romantic relationships that I have. But not everyone has to like you. And the minute you make that evident, people will have more respect for you. You're not just going to be wiping everyone's butt no matter what they do to you, basically. And then my last pointer was volunteer. Get out of your head. Outside from friends, relationships, or what other people think about you. What you think about yourself. And that's what Louise Hayes goes into depth about in this book, is our reality is really what we think about ourselves. How we think about ourselves, what we think other people think about us. And it's really life-changing because it's like cognitive behavioral therapy. It's really focusing on how you speak to yourself, how you see yourself. And I highlighted a few things that really stuck out to me. And I'll just go down a list. If it grows, eat it. If it doesn't, don't eat it. If you just keep scrubbing away soon, you will have a pan as good as new. You really have a mess. It looks worse than ever. Let's see another one. And this one is a lot about the power we hold in our own lives. In blaming another, we give away our power. How many times have you given away your power to people who don't even care that much to think about it? Care that much to reciprocate that same energy. I know I've done it multiple times. I gave away my power. I'm just like, I wake up and I'm just like, oh, I wonder how the other person's feeling. No, how am I feeling today? And what am I going to do about it? Because in reality, you really have to have your own back. You can always reach out to friends and family, and they will help you to a certain extent because that's all they're capable of. How many times has someone told you to feel better? Don't be sad. Don't be anxious. You have no reason to. It really doesn't. Sometimes it will not help us. And then you get back into your room and you find yourself being alone. And then you look up into the wall and you're like, all I really have is myself. And it's truly empowering when you look at that at a standpoint where you're just like, I'm not lonely. I just am in comfort with myself and I know that I have my own back. And which is also important to advocate for yourself, whether it's when you're applying to college, when you're asking for a raise, when you're trying to get a new job. No one else, you can ask for references, but really no one knows you better than yourself. What are you capable of? What is your skill set? How much do you want to get paid? Where are you going to set your value is so important. And the future is shaped by our current thinking. I thought for so long, because I'm depressed, how am I going to be able to graduate college? How am I going to be able to have stable friendships, stable relationships? How am I going to be able to be married one day and have kids? It doesn't seem possible for me. That was something I struggled with for so long. But But now that I'm comfortable with myself, it's really, you attract you attract what you put out. And if you don't know your worth and how you want to be treated, that's exactly what you're going to attract. You're going to attract people who don't respect you, who don't have the ability to just see how amazing you are. And I can tell you right now, all of you are amazing, and we all have such different qualities that we can, and things we can offer to this world. And if you think for 1 minute that you have nothing to offer, you're insane. Because we all do. We just have to discover it ourselves. Whether that's a boss pointing out to you how well you're doing at this particular thing, that'll kind of be like, oh, I have something that I'm really good at, and I could improve on it even more, and maybe even gain other skills too. Another thing is, whenever we blame someone else, we are not taking responsibility for ourselves. This is a very complex statement for me. I can only think of romantic relationships where I was just like, oh, they made me feel so horrible. They broke my heart. Oh, they're not treating me with respect. But if you think about it, that is not taking responsibility for that relationship that you put yourself in. And if you look at it from a standpoint of taking responsibility for things in your life that happen, you ponder and you think, and once you're used to doing this, you won't feel as guilty for putting yourself in a situation like that. You'll be like, actually, I was at a time in my life where I didn't know my worth. I knew no better than to be treated that way. I thought the person would change. These are all things that we tell ourselves to give ourselves hope, which I am totally on board with. But you have to be honest with yourself and honest about who that person that you're with is. You can't change a person. Only that person can change themselves, which is really important to note. And I don't think you should change for someone else. That's also another thing I'm strong about. You shouldn't have to change for someone else. You are amazing just the way you are, in my book. And if you're causing any harm or anything on other people, that's when you have to check yourself. And so taking responsibility for others, that's what I was talking about. And you can't blame yourself when you go through this thinking of taking responsibility for the things that you put yourself in. You cannot blame yourself. You knew no better in that time, or maybe you knew and you just decided to be naive and just wait it out and see if things changed. And that's normal. But have some compassion for yourself. I'm sure even if you've went through really horrible relationships or friendships or relationships with family members, you knew no better in that time. And maybe you really thought things were going to get better, but you do have to realize that in that moment, you tolerated XYZ behavior. You tolerated them doing that to you. And that's where I really, and I'm still working on this today. And just, it's so important to set your value, because otherwise people will walk all over you. And I've always been really introverted, shy, especially in like school age years and like elementary school, middle school, high school. Anytime anyone would talk to me, I would get really red. I would hate to present in front of people. I mean, I was so shy, I was like mute. But now I find myself, I don't know whether I would consider myself introverted or extroverted anymore, but I love talking to people. It brings me so much happiness. And I find that when I'm honest with myself and my intentions, that same energy it attracts other people who are also honest with themselves. So I feel like that all works out in full circle. Another point, each one of us has a 3-year-old child within us. And we often spend most of our time yelling at that kid and ourselves. Then we wonder why our lives don't work. Why do we keep yelling at ourselves? Just like I said before, we knew no better at that time. But you know what? We learned from that time. And I'm sure we made good memories with people that have hurt us. They've taught us so much. And not to say you have to forgive these people. I mean, you could forgive and forget. That's up to you and what makes you feel good. That is not my business. But that was really interesting to read, because how many times are we so hard on ourselves? How many times when we fail, we're just like, oh my gosh, you're so stupid. How could you do that? That is life. We are not supposed to do this perfectly, but I think we should be trying the best we can to make it a good life. We're only given one life, and it is a privilege, honestly. And also remember, it is a privilege to be with you. The minute the person you're with or the friend that you have doesn't see it as this amazing thing, they're not that grateful for you. And you deserve to be appreciated. You deserve to be happy. You really do. And countless times I've had a couple people in my life, and I myself have been in a toxic relationship, and you hate to hear when people tell you, you should leave, you're totally disrespecting yourself. How many times have people told you that and you don't leave? You keep staying. You want it even more now that people don't want it for you. It's really weird how psychology works. Another point, some things will never serve you again, and it becomes time to let go of those things. This stuck out to me because I remember when I was in one relationship, it was a long relationship. We had wonderful memories together. I grew so much in that relationship. But it came to a point where that person or that relationship itself, it didn't serve me any good. It was making me stressed out. It just made me maybe it could have been the time I was in my life, but it made me so stressed out. And for me, it wasn't worth it. And when you have to walk away. Because I assure you that person, they will respect you more for walking away and not tolerating that. And not even if they did something bad, but if you're being very realistic about things, you find that, okay, you know what, I'm not really getting anything out of this relationship anymore. It's not really going anywhere. You have the right to walk away. And remember that in any interaction with you, any interaction that you have with anybody, you have a right to walk away. And that's so important to remember. And another point is, would you really dig into yesterday's garbage to make tonight's meal? How many times do we go back to something just because we're familiar with it? Just because we're comfortable with it? Just because we know it's there? For so long, and still today sometimes. I'm at a very stable point in my life, and I was telling my therapist, I'm just like, you know what? I'm feeling fine, but I just find that it's kind of boring now that there's no chaos going on in my life. And she was like, well, get comfortable with the boredom because you're happy now and you're used to so much chaos, and we kind of chase these highs, these euphoric times in our lives, but that doesn't last forever. It's not what makes this entire life happy all the time. And we're not going to be happy all the time, but if you spend your life chasing these highs, chasing these euphoric times, it can be kind of toxic sometimes. And I find myself so doing that today sometimes. Like, I want to feel a certain way, and I'll do this or that. But I'm still trying to understand myself, how to not do that. So come along with me in the ride that is life. So, I'm trying to think of one other thing. This video is getting pretty long, and I don't want to go past 30 minutes. So, one other note, the past has no power over me. remember that. Your past does not define you. It doesn't define who you are, doesn't define who you're going to be. You have complete control over your future. And the minute we're stable and able to focus on actually the present, we can actually plan for the future. I remember when I would be in chaotic times every day and be overthinking and just sulking in my bed or my room. I didn't even know if there was going to be a tomorrow. I couldn't plan for the future because I didn't even know what was going to happen that night when I went home. It was all so chaotic and just really unhealthy. But know that if you're bored but you find yourself feeling stable and not so like crazy, because I know I can resonate with that, and I'm not afraid to admit it. These times are actually so crucial to our lives because this is when we can plan and actually see a future ahead of ourselves. And it's so important to realize that. But I will cut this video now because it is getting pretty lengthy. So again, I appreciate everyone who's taken the time to watch this. I really hope you get something out of my video today, and please feel free if you'd like to give me more ideas that you'd like me to talk about. I know it helps sometimes seeing a familiar face. It always helps me when I see it someone has posted something on YouTube, talk about their experience. But definitely feel free to subscribe if you want to hear if you want to watch more videos. I'll always share on social media just to get more of the word out. And if you've made it this far, just know you are an MVP to me. You mean so much to me, and I hope you all have an amazing day because you deserve an amazing day.